Welcome to another episode of the Chronic Comeback podcast. Today, someone actually cancelled their podcast today. I'll be honest, it's actually normally me who I'm pretty disorganized. So I'm either just something comes up or, something comes up with health wise and I end up cancelling. So I think it's karma today that someone cancelled on me. But what that has meant that I thought I should do is put out an episode just talking about, this is what I'm thinking of doing more regularly. If people want to see it, let me know. If not, means less work for me, I guess. Just putting out stuff that comes up that resonates with me, that maybe will resonate with you guys. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you guys are going through, what your diagnosis is, we're all going through the same thing. We might have different symptoms, but we're all going through the same thing. Some of you might disagree. Some of you might agree. The reason why I think we're going through the same thing is because we are all having to deal with the mental side of something that isn't getting better, something that we're all used to when we're younger, getting a cold, getting the flu, getting a cut, and our body takes care of it, but our body hasn't been doing that. And for some of us, including me, it's been years and years. And so it's that side of things that we're all going through the same thing. Yeah, we're not maybe experiencing the exact same physical symptoms, but mentally we are. And there's a big connection there. And I think it's important to realize that. And so when I first started this channel, I didn't want to do it about one specific condition. I wanted to make it about chronic issues, because it's more about, this is always about being about the mental side of it and how we can all deal with that. And so today I wanted to talk about whether you are ready to heal. And I know this might sound like a stupid question. I know this is going to be triggering for people to hear, because you're going to be saying to me, fuck you. Of course I'm ready to heal. Sorry, I just felt like a fuck you needing to come up. But yeah, because people might be thinking that, of course I'm ready to heal. I know you don't want to feel like shit anymore. You want to get back what you've lost. You want what everyone else is having. And so that's a stupid question, right? But whilst it might sound like a stupid question, and it is, I guess it is in some ways, because we all want to heal, okay? It's just, are you ready to heal? And I think they're two different things. And when I look back at how I was before, I actually wasn't ready. And even now, I think the difference is now, I can identify the ways in which I'm still not ready. And that's not saying I don't think I'm going to heal anytime soon or anything like that, or already not healing. I think it's just important that I already know where I'm coming up short. And again, that's not, you've got to be careful, because you don't want to be beating yourself up. You don't want to be saying, oh, well, I'm lacking in that area as well. So it's all a fine line. And I'm learning about this kind of stuff intuitively, and also just by doing this podcast and just reading into loads of things every day. So for me, there's three key areas that I feel like I wasn't ready to heal. And some of those areas I still have a little bit of trouble with. And I think there probably is more than this. And maybe you guys can let me know what you think. But for me, the first thing was that I was just too convinced that this was physical. And I think that anyone in the Western world, we're probably guilty of this. And when I say guilty of this, we're guilty of the system that we were raised in, the medical system that says everything is physical. They treat, I've forgotten where it was that I read, but at some point in the 1700s, 1800s, they decided to split out mind and body. Doctors took body, and mind was taken by, I can't remember. I obviously should have read this book before I started this, but ever since that point, they've just gone further and further apart. And so I've always looked for something outside of me to heal what's going on inside of me. And so whether that's antibiotics, stem cells, supplements, just the fact that just searching for a diagnosis so I can attach something to that. And I think that's another important thing as well, about like craving that identity, even just to explain it and to justify it to someone else. And I guess also just believing that all of these things were just so different. So when I believed it was Lyme, or when I was like, got the diagnosis, the clinical diagnosis of Lyme disease, okay, well, that's it now. I'm a Lyme person, so I'm going to stick in that lane. I'm going to focus on what's all about Lyme. And then when it was like mold, okay, when I'm looking at only mold, and when they were talking about viruses, I was just looking at that. And then when talking about fatigue, and it was all just focusing on the physical, focusing on the symptoms, focusing on the diagnosis, and nothing else. And I think even when I started to look into the mind-body connection and all of that, it was still always an afterthought. It was still always, okay, but yeah, I can look at that once I've got round to doing all the physical stuff. And I think like each year since this got bad for me in 2014, each year I've pretty much had something like huge for me to do physically, whether that be I went to India to do this like crazy detox thing, whether it's to go to Germany, 3 times I've been now to do all kinds of different treatments, stem cells. I've been to America to do stem cells. I've been to America to do like a water fasting thing. All of these things, like hoping that someone's protocol, someone's thing was going to fix what was going on. And even when it's just like, I remember in the beginning, I was always like, okay, well, I had, and I still have got like these issues in my ears, issues with my like ringing in my ears, issues, whatever. So I'd go and see an ear specialist. I've got all these floaters in my vision that just won't go away. Sometimes I get blurred vision. I go and see an eye specialist. I've got my joints, as you guys know, I've got a lot of issues with it. So I'd go and have massage. I'd go and do all of this. And all of this is like trying to focus on one specific part of the body and trying to like fix that part of the body. And it all actually, the stuff, Dan Buglio that came on my show, he's got a website and YouTube called I think Pain Free You. Anyway, look him up. Great guy. He looks at it in a very simplistic way, which works for someone like me with such a simplistic mind. I get very overwhelmed when there's a lot of complexity involved. But he's just like, if the more you're doing of that, and I don't know, I'm still kind of like working out the difference between chronic pain and like chronic infection, chronic illness. Like, I don't know. And maybe that's still showing like part of my way to go. But I remember him just talking about every time you're going to like do these like physical things, like for chronic pain, particularly, like you're having a massage, you're seeing a physio and everything, you're admitting to your body that there's something broken and that needs to be fixed. That's like a key thing there. And so the other thing to think about is like, I hadn't really ever even, so this has been going on now. Every time I'm like, oh, it's been going on 10 years. I'm like, oh shit, no, it's been 11. And I'm like, no, it's been 12. And now it's been coming up 13 years. It's been 13 years anyway, but bad the last like 7 or so. And I'd only heard about limbic system dysfunction. Not even, I heard about fight or flight and stuff like that, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But it really only took me until about a year ago, even starting into this podcast, I don't think I was like still fully convinced that like this was a big thing for me. And so it's so clear to me now that I still have all these physical things and I still want to do all this other stuff. So I was on a call with my practitioner the other day. So I'm still, for those of you who are still wondering or don't know, I'm still dealing with 2 Purple Carrots, Lauren Keller, who was on my show before. We get on really well actually, but she helps me deal with a lot of the physical stuff. She tells me I still definitely need to do the limbic system retraining stuff. But I'm still trying to do the saunas, the enemas, the supplements that I can, just the stuff that will help things along, but also needing to address like the mind body stuff, the limbic system stuff, just get myself out of this fight or flight. I still think I've got a bit of a way to go on this first point, because I still don't have it integrated into my daily life, which shows that I'm not prioritizing it subconsciously. And I think a lot of this stuff is subconsciously, by the way. I'm desperate to heal. I'm desperate for it all to get better. But subconsciously, something's making me still maybe focus on the physical a little bit more at times. So it's still a process, but I at least I'm aware of it. And just as a disclaimer, before I get completely hounded, this is my opinion, right? And it's for me personally. I'm not saying I'm right. I just feel I'm right for me. And I feel like it will resonate with some people. It might not with others. So that's the first point. Being convinced it was totally physical. Secondly, and this is going back into what I was saying with Dan Buglio, had this belief, and I guess I still do to an extent, that I was broken. And we're actually someone with chronic health issues. You're consistently fed these ideas, bad genes. So we've all got MT. I always get this one wrong. MTHR or something like that. You know the one I mean. If you don't, then don't look it up, because it's not worth your time. You're basically told there's a faulty gene that means you find it really hard to detox, which actually, what they don't tell you is that a lot of people have this gene, or there's a lot of people that have faulty genes that it doesn't matter for them, because do you know why? Because they don't get switched on. Just because you have a gene doesn't mean it's definitely going to get switched on. And you can also upregulate, which is, I believe that's switching it on, and downregulate these, which is switching it off. So you have the ability to actually switch off these genes as well. And so when I was doing all of this research, when I stopped believing it was the old medical system, I was looking maybe more at, Lyme disease and stuff like that. I was looking into these faulty genes, and I found out, oh my God, okay, so I'm more prone to allergies. Oh, that makes more sense, because I've been allergic to all this thing, and like everything starts to make sense, and you just start to believe that you are broken, and that's not a good thing, because then you're in the mindset of like, I have to fix myself, and we'll go on to that. You believe that you're prone to this, you believe that you're prone to that, and what this starts to do, in my opinion, you start to believe that you're broken and actually everything's against you. And that this is where you start to develop a bit of a victim mentality, and you'll start to say things to yourself like, why is it happening to me? Which is, I guess, look, that is such a natural question to ask yourself. But would you say that's a question that a victim would ask? Of course it is. Not, what have I got to be grateful for? But, why me? And I know more than as much as anyone, it's very difficult to ask yourself. Even this morning, I've been sleeping pretty badly for the last week or so, and I felt like shit this morning. I did my gratitude journal, which definitely helped, but I haven't been asking myself all morning, why am I so happy with, what have I got to be so happy in my life? However, I also wasn't saying, why me? Why is this happening to me? And that's what I was doing for a long time. And that's just not helpful. It's not helpful. And the longer you cling on to that, the longer it will take you. I know it's a horrible thing to hear, but it is. And, I've spoken to a lot of different people in a lot of different circumstances. Some people have a lot of money and a lot of time. And so, that is going to help you more. It is. Other people have spent their life savings on this. They can't work. And so they are in a far more difficult position. But you can find that those people who are rich and have loads of time have a worse mentality than the people who are, I'm saying this is possible, by the way, and therefore than someone that, doesn't have any money and doesn't have a lot of time. And so that person actually who has less time and less money is actually better equipped to get better in that way. So anyway, I went kind of off track there. I was more just like, it's easy to put yourself in a victim mentality when you've got this stuff going on, but the more you start thinking about what you've got good going on in your life and actually start thinking of the little steps you can take to get better. I've got someone I speak to fairly regularly who's similar to how I used to be, in the sense that they're in an office job and they can just about work, but they can't do much else, and they can't stop working because then they can't afford to do anything else. And I felt for that person so much, because that's how I was. And I just said to them, look, for me, I knew I needed to get to a position where I could somehow get myself into either working less hours, have more flexibility with work, or work for myself. And I just made like tiny little steps, like consistently towards that goal. The good thing about COVID is that we're now in a world where this kind of environment and this kind of thing is a lot more acceptable. So anyway, the reason why I bring that up is just no matter what situation you are in, there is always a way to make it slightly better. And then once you're in that new, slightly better place, there's always a way to make that slightly better. And I know someone could be saying there's always a way to make it worse, of course. But even if that happens, then there's always just a way to make, and it's always just focusing on, well, that's that next little thing you can do. Anyway, the third thing, which is just so important, and still I'm getting so much better at it, but it struggled. But like, I don't think I really, truly deep down had belief in my own recovery. I would consistently and constantly think about what life would be like if I got worse, not what life would be like if I got better. Did you see how that's not even a subtle difference. That's a fucking huge difference. So my mind is constantly focusing on what life is going to be like when I get worse, not when I get better. I was thinking about me not being able to have kids, not being able to play any sport ever again, not being able to do all of these things. And so my mind, from what I know now about, the power of, manifestation, all of that kind of stuff is, and all the stuff with Joe Dispenza, is focusing on, it's going to draw more of that stuff to me. And so actually, if you listen to some of the episodes where there's people who are just not immediately, but within a certain period of time, were focusing on how they were going to get better and what they were going to do when they got better. And I had someone on the show called Julie, and her Instagram is Julie's Healing, I believe, off the top of my head. And she put a really good Instagram post about it's about visualization. And I'm like about visualization, but I just thought it was amazing. It did a video of her like visualizing, and did a video of her actually being in that visual. Look it up; it's a really cool post. And she's someone who like fully put herself there. She wasn't thinking about getting worse. Maybe she was at a certain point, but then she was actually more thinking about what's life going to be like when I'm better. And I think that's, as I said, it's not even a subtle difference. That's a big difference. If you're constantly thinking about, oh God, I'm going to get worse, because that's the information we're fed, right? We look up online and we see that things get worse for some people, but also look at this podcast, how many people are getting better. A lot of people get better. So stop thinking about this getting worse, thinking about it getting better. So that's a key thing about it. And so I think I would hear about people recovering. I didn't use this as inspiration. I used it as further evidence that there was something different about me, something I hadn't quite discovered yet. And it's going back to this broken mentality that meant that I was less likely to heal. And does anyone else do this? Or did anyone else do this? I would be happy to an extent, but I would also be sad for myself, and as selfish as that sounds, because I'd be like, well, it hasn't happened for me, so there must be something different about me. And I think this is quite a big thing about this is like, this is a big thing because it shows the mindset. Now And ever since I've been doing this podcast, and it was before, it was well before the podcast, probably about a year before the podcast. Now I'm listening to these stories, and you can see me on the episodes. I mean, hopefully you can see me. Sometimes I look a bit deadpan, but I'm so inspired. I can go into these episodes and I can be in the middle of a work day in the worst mood, and I'll be like, oh, do you know what? Being honest with you guys, I can't be bothered to do this right now. Like, I've got so much other stuff going on. And I do it and I come off and I was just like, wow, that was amazing. I feel so good. I feel so connected to that person in our stories. And I also just feel so inspired about my own recovery. And you see that difference there. I come off feeling inspired, I'm not beating myself up. And I think that's just such an important difference. I'm ashamed to say that when I would go and do all of these physical treatments, stem cells, when I'd go to India, when I went to do the water fasting, doing all these kinds of things, I would be around people, we were getting treated at the same time, and I would see them talking about how they were getting better. And I would actually, it wouldn't actually make me feel good, which is like actually really, really sad. It was just adding to my own belief that I was broken and that I wouldn't recover, which is just madness, right? But for me, it was really difficult. This has now changed so much. As I've just said, I get so excited when people improve. I use that as information to help me, but also just to inspire myself further. We're at, I mean, God knows how many episodes we're at now. I think we're getting close to 100 episodes. At the beginning, I had to kind of like seek out people and reach out to people. Now, I can't see me ever being in a position where, unless like someone recommends people, which we reach out to, I can't see us ever being in a position where we have to go on a search for recovery stories. They're coming to us. What does that tell you? There's fuckloads of them. Do you know what I mean? So if there's that many, that means that we all can recover and we all will recover. We just need to get into the right, state of mind. So I just use this as information to help myself and to help inspire me further. So I see comments from people in YouTube and the Facebook groups. Instagram, actually, weirdly, very rarely you see a negative comment. But so you see some comments that are saying, wow, this is exactly what I needed today. This has inspired me today. And then you'll see other people who see negative things in that story or that video. And, something like, oh, this person says they had ME, but they didn't. It was CFS. This person was able to work. That shows that they weren't as bad as me. So, it's not relevant. This is one I've had a lot recently. This is just a sales ploy. No one's actually healing here. Everyone, there's something underhand going on. If this is you, I'm not having a go at you at all. I was the same. I maybe, I didn't post about it on social media or anything like that, but I certainly had similar thoughts. I wouldn't look for a way that would inspire me. I would look for a way that, maybe it's just not, it's not the same as me. I can't relate to that. But what I will say to you is, the longer that you're looking to poke holes in someone's recovery story, the longer it will take for you to recover, in my opinion. It shows to me that your subconscious is still looking for reasons to stay where you are and not to find hope that you will better your position. I think the final point on this is that those, I feel, again, my opinion, who are ready to heal are probably those that are already trying to live their lives. People who are already trying to get joy outside of their health, which I know is really difficult. And that comes back to Dr. Kathleen King, who had such a positive episode with her, and so much positive response to that. And I've always had a lot of trouble with someone saying, and I still don't like it actually, when I see these accounts, Instagram accounts, again, I'm having a go at them. It's just, it doesn't fill me with inspiration of these people who are saying living with chronic illness. I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it. It's just, I will never accept it in that way. However, I do think you can be happy in the recovery process. And that's an important difference for me. So living with chronic illness implies to me that you're going to have it forever. And that's what I don't like. But being happy now and focusing on, just enjoying life, focusing on what you can control and what you can't control. Yeah, it's just such an important difference. Yeah, and that's something that I'm gonna talk more about in my next update. I would urge you to go onto my YouTube channel and Instagram account, particularly the YouTube channel, and look at the comments on there. It's so clear to me who's in the right mindset and who isn't. And this isn't. I'm really honestly. I'm not trying to separate people here. I'm just trying to be honest with you, because if the sooner someone you hear it, then the sooner you might acknowledge it, and maybe you won't ever. And maybe I'm wrong, but this is just my opinion. There was someone who I haven't got a problem with, by the way. It just triggered me. Someone who's commented on a few of my posts, and initially it was saying that the channel had become a bit more of a sponsorship, a place to sponsor practitioners. And then the next one was asking me if I had healed from, we'd had like a bit of a backward and forwards. And then it was asking me if I had healed from brain retraining, because I seem to be promoting all of these, and they put it in speech marks, all of these coaches. And it just, firstly, obviously I was really offended on the first time. There was a few comments about me maybe using this as a way to like promote other people. Actually, I've had people who've come on who've said, do you mind putting out a post or sharing a story about my course? And I said, well, if it's paid, I won't do that. I won't ever tell anyone. I won't ever promote on my Instagram. I'll let people know about a course on an episode, but I won't ever promote a paid thing. I don't think it's fair, because I haven't done the course and it's not fair. What was really interesting on one of the last comments, someone replied to this comment and said, I don't think you're in the right mindset to heal. And they were saying it in a really nice way, because they were saying that these people that come on the show are people who've been through all the shit that we're going through, and they healed, and they're so excited and happy about what they've done that they want to share it with people. And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Okay, there might be one or two people who are in it for the money, but I genuinely can't say that I've thought that about anyone coming on the show. And I think it just says about people's mindset that they're looking for. Because also we've all spent shitloads of money, right? We've all been burnt by someone saying they can heal us and then it doesn't happen. So I get it. But also you've got to, these recovery stories aren't actually for you to buy someone's course. They're for you to inspire yourself that you can recover. So there's a difference there. None of these videos are for you to, of course, please do, and I am as well, please do take what you can, but they are to add to your mindset. I think I'm rambling and going a bit off course here, so apologies. And this also just wasn't, I'm not meant to dig out this particular person, and I wasn't ever going to name that person, but they were asking for a response from me in the comments, and I just started to get a little bit stressed out by it and started to like argue with them on it, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. So look, I feel like I've addressed it here now, and to be honest, if there are comments like that, I'll probably just ignore them, or I just ask anyone to DM me on Instagram. That's what I want people to do. If you have any thoughts about it, then please do send me a DM. If what I'm saying, for me, this is all about perspective, right? Some people will be listening to this and they'll be nodding their heads and thinking, yep, that's exactly what is holding me back, or what was holding me back. Others, particularly maybe the person who I've just been talking about, will want to punch me if they could. But I'm just saying the same words about a subject that we're all going through, that we're all in it together. So it's kind of it's all about your own perspective about on things. And if this video is triggering for you, then good. I think you probably need it. And I know that might draw more criticism, but to be honest, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, that was harsh. I don't mean it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm saying these things because I actually think it would help those people, whilst it might piss you off in the short term. I think most people this would resonate with. I needed someone to say these things to me. You've got to understand, if this is triggering for you, I've been there. It's not like I'm saying I've never been in that position. So I needed it, and I wished I'd heard these words before, so I could begin focusing not on the physical, but the mind-body connection, the limbic system and everything connected. But also so I could begin focusing on my belief in my own recovery, coupled with the belief that I still can live an amazing life while going through this, coupled with the belief that I'm not broken. If you're one of these people who gets triggered by what I've mentioned, I would urge you to take a breath. Maybe don't hate me too much. You can unsubscribe if you want, but maybe one of these stories that you've had a problem with in the past, that you've maybe doubted and not liked, you haven't liked the episode as much, maybe watch it again, but write down 3 things, hopefully more, that inspires you. And this can be anything. This can be, a person decided to, at their darkest hour, they decided to meditate, and that was what they were going to focus on. I don't know. That was just a stupid example. There's so many things. Just 3 things, no matter how small, and anything you doubt or you don't believe in about that episode, just choose to let it go. These episodes aren't for you to have every single bit of information into it, agree with every bit of information. They're for you to take the core message of it, that you can recover, that you will recover, and that you can have a great life leading up to that recovery. And just see how you feel afterwards when you choose to let go of that. Look, I'm no expert, as you can tell. I mean, I try and talk about a subject and I just ramble on and mumble on about things. I'm the same as all of you. I'm trying to muddle my way through this. I'm doing the best I can whilst trying to live my life at the same time. I happen just to post the odd YouTube video and podcast episodes with my opinion. I would love to hear from you guys to let me know what you think on the above, like everything I've mentioned. Maybe there's so many more things restricting someone's ability and their ability to recover. Maybe you think I'm being too harsh, but I guess that's a bit my style, really. I feel like sometimes people just need to hear the words. So just let me know. Anyway, for now, I'm going to sign off, and probably going to do another one of these soon if people are keen. But yeah, let me know what you think about what I've talked about today.